What is up, YouTube? My name is Trinity and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. So today I'm finally getting to record a video that I have been waiting a while to upload to you guys. Today we're going to be talking about legends of the Appalachian Mountains. So for those of you who may not know, the Appalachian Mountains are actually a very large mountain range that span the eastern coast of North America, over 2,000 miles in fact. They stretch across 14 states and into Canada. The Appalachian Mountains are actually the oldest mountain range in North America, about 400 million years older than the Rocky Mountains. And while the Rocky Mountains are still growing in size, at their highest point, the height of the Appalachian Mountains were comparable to the Himalayan Mountains, where Mount Everest is. They have been eroded, so they're not as huge as they once were, but they are still an amazing sight to see. So with the mountains being nearly 500 million years old, they're around 480 million. It's kind of hard to put into perspective how old that is. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of things that the mountains are older than to kind of give you an idea of how long and how insane that is. The Appalachian Mountains predate the evolution of bones by about 80 million years. They predate the evolution of trees by about 130 million years, and they predate the formation of Saturn's rings by about 320 million years. So all of that to say, they're really fucking old and they've seen some stuff. The Appalachian Mountains and the communities that dwell within them are very rich in legend and superstition. So today I've compiled a list of a couple of the most famous Appalachian legends to share with you today. Now, while a lot of this content I've gotten on TikTok, I've also come across some controversy of people talking about the Appalachian Mountains and some of the superstitions that reside there. I personally don't believe in these, even though I'm aware that people in these areas may very well fully believe in it. I am not making this video to try and dissuade you from going to these communities because many of them rely on tourism and they are very beautiful places with their own individual attractions. Now, if you are a believer in the paranormal, there are also festivals and stuff like that to celebrate the paranormal side. So while I am talking about these, I'm not trying to dissuade you from going here. I'm not saying it's a spooky, dangerous, creepy place. I'm just trying to share with you some cool stuff that I found. So the first cryptid that I'm going to be talking to you about is the Bell Witch, which originates in Robertson County, Tennessee. So one of the origins of this legend that I read is that a man named John Bell cheated a woman named Kate Batts out of a land purchase, and because of that she was very angry, and there was kind of rumors that she was into witchcraft and stuff like that, and she may have cursed the Bell family. Other versions of this story say that a grave site or a sacred place had been disturbed, and that is kind of what woke up this spirit or witch and why it started targeting people. The actual hauntings are said to have begun between 1817 and 1821. At first they started with strange dog-like creatures and black crows and ravens appearing around the Bell family house. John's family, namely his daughter Betsy and the people that were enslaved there, began experiencing horrific encounters with something they couldn't see. From sheets being pulled off the bed to physical assault, kicking, hitting, scratching, by, again, something that they couldn't see. Now, these attacks in the household did not stay hidden. In fact, they spread all over the surrounding area, to the point where General Andrew Jackson, 7th President of the United States, and on my list for shittiest human being ever, actually heard about the occurrences and camped outside of the Bell household in order to see what was going on. One of his men that night bragged that he was a witch hunter and he knew exactly how to kill the witch if it came down to it, saying that he would shoot her with a silver bullet. And apparently the witch did not like this and proceeded to beat the ever-loving shit out of him in front of the other men. And apparently Andrew Jackson wanted to stay and see what would happen next, but his men begged him to be able to leave, and they eventually left. After John's passing in 1820, it is said that the activity died down tremendously. Strangely enough, Kate was still alive at this time, so those who think that maybe she was responsible for everything are probably saying, oh, she summoned something. But other reports say that she was actually on really good terms with John Bell, so just to show you that this story has gone through a lot of iterations, through many mouths, through many generations. Some claim that the witch, before disappearing, vowed to come back in 1935 to continue to haunt John's descendants. However, Dr. Charles Bailey Bell, a physician working in Nashville at the time, never reported anything strange or paranormal happening to him at the time. The next story we are going to talk about are the Brown Mountain Lights, originating in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. So essentially, locals and tourists alike often describe seeing these glowing orbs about 10 to 15 feet off the ground, coming in colors from red, orange, blue, or white, and just hanging around above the tree line. And you can see many very grainy, admittedly, pictures of these lights. And many tests have been done to figure out what they could be, if they're hoaxes, if they could be recreated naturally, and apparently nothing solid has ever been determined. So apparently the origin of these lights comes from a major battle between the Cherokee Nation and the Catawba Nation that left many dead. Apparently the night after the battle, women from the Catawba Nation went out looking by torchlight for their loved ones. And to this day they are searching, and those lights are the women still searching in the afterlife for their fathers, brothers, sons by torchlight. One of the earliest reports of these lights came in 1771 by a German engineer by the name of John William Gerard de Bram. He apparently wrote in a journal describing these lights every night at the exact same time. Because of how consistent and on the dot these lights apparently were every night, many believe that John was probably seeing a train in the distance. The explanations that many people have for these lights are the headlights of cars or other technology in the area. However, they were apparently reported before lights like this were even invented, and they could still be seen in 1916 when a flood that prevented automobile travel and shut down railways. The next legend we are going to talk about is the Flatwoods Monster, which originates in Braxton County, Virginia. Alright, so there's going to be a lot of names in this one, so I'm going to have to look down at my notes. So in the early evening of September 12, 1952, 3 boys named Edward and Freddie May and Tommy Heyer were playing at Flatwoods Elementary School when they saw a bright light shoot across the sky and land on a neighboring property. So they went to tell Kathleen May, the mother of Freddie and Edward, and they all wanted to go check out what it was. And along the way, their friends Neil Nunley and Ronnie Shaver, as well as a National Guardsman named Eugene Lemon, joined them. After reaching the top of the hill of the neighboring property, which was a farm, Nunley pointed out a pulsing red light. Lemon, who had a flashlight on him, pointed it in the direction of the light and apparently saw a 10-foot tall, hooded figure levitating off of the ground. Kathleen described it as having small clawed hands and folds like it was wearing clothing of some sort. She also said it had a head like an ace of spades, which could have also been a hood. When the light flashed on the creature, it allegedly let out a hiss and began forward towards the children and adults, and they all ran. They also all recalled later smelling this odd, pungent odor at the site of the crash that made some of them nauseous afterwards. Though later, when a local sheriff and deputy went to check out the crash site, there was nothing there. Next, we are going to be talking about the moon-eyed people. So I've actually been talking about these creatures more recently, even though I just found out about them because when I was on the crawler subreddit, somebody brought up the moon-eyed people and how they believe that crawlers descend from the moon people, kind of like how in The Descent, these humanoid cavemen beings evolved into the monsters of that movie. So while people of the Appalachians today believe in it, this legend actually predates colonization. The Cherokee Nation, as well as nations around them, all have similar legends about these people. They are said to be a very short race of humans with pale skin, beards, and blue eyes. They get their name because of their nocturnal nature, apparently because they are very sensitive to sunlight and therefore lived underground. Apparently they lived underground and in caves through the Appalachians before the Cherokee Nation drove them out. Now, theories vary as to what these people or creatures were, from a species of undiscovered human to Europeans that actually somehow made it over here before official European contact was made. Now, I haven't really been able to find much on their nature, how they acted, why the Cherokee felt the need to drive them further west and out of their territory. It kind of reminds me of little people, what a lot of indigenous nations believe in, or what a lot of Latin Americans call duendes, which are, depending on who you ask, kind of the equivalent of gnomes or fairies from European folklore. They can vary from just being benevolent tricksters to very dangerous, malicious creatures. And the final one, I'm so fucking excited to talk about. I don't know why I haven't talked about it on my channel before.
Mothman.
Yes, we are going to be talking about Mothman. So this legend originates in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, the first sighting being on November 15th, 1966. Okay, so there's going to be some more names, so I'm going to be looking down at my notes. Two young couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Millette, claimed to have seen a large white creature that had the build of a slim but muscular man with glowing red eyes and a 7-foot wingspan on the side of the road one night. They apparently couldn't really recall any other features because of the hypnotic effect of this creature's eyes. And when their car passed by it, it apparently made a horrible hissing or shrieking sound and proceeded to fly after their car. Similar reports after this came into local newspapers. An account from 2 volunteer firemen described it as a large bird with red eyes. A contractor in the area also said when he shined his flashlight into a nearby field, he saw the glowing red eyes of this creature that reflected like bicycle reflectors. This man also blamed a buzzing sound coming from his TV and the disappearance of his German Shepherd on this creature. Sheriff George Johnson of Mason County blamed the sightings on an unusually large blue heron. And a wildlife biologist from West Virginia University, Robert L. Smith, said that the length of the wingspan was consistent with a sandhill crane, which could reach the height of a man. And it also has red markings around its eyes, which I guess could give the effect that it had glowing red eyes. He said because it wasn't common to the area, it likely wandered off of its migration path, and because no one had ever seen anything like it before, they were misidentifying it. Now, I've always said in a situation like this, I feel like I would be very valuable in identifying shit because I grew up on Animal Planet and I also went to college for a program that talks all about animals in all shapes, sizes, and forms. I would with relative confidence be able to at least eliminate creatures if I didn't know what something was, or kind of make a guess as to if it was at least a primate or a bird or something. So I don't know if these people maybe had never been in a wooded area or something, but I feel like it's kind of hard to mistake a crane, this admittedly big bird, but also very skinny, for like something the shape of a muscular man. I've also heard the theory that it could have been some sort of owl that people were seeing. It would explain the more broad, robust body, and maybe if they only saw it from up here, they would think like, okay, it's bigger down below and it's the size of a man and it has big eyes that may reflect red, and then it has a big wingspan depending on the species of owl, or when you're scared things may look bigger to you. I more side with the owl theory than a crane, but also I don't know exactly what these people were seeing, just because I don't know many people that could mistake like a crane for a huge bird or Mothman. I know there's more to the Mothman story, but I'm going to save that for maybe a short or its own video. Alright, so that was the last cryptid. I could make probably an hour-long video with all the different cryptids that are said to be in the Appalachian Mountains, even though many are not specifically named, they're just beings. Maybe in the future I will go more into different cryptids, but now I want to read some like superstitions or rules about living in the Appalachian Mountains that you probably have heard all over TikTok at this point, but I just want to reiterate, I'm not making this video to scare anyone away from going into the Appalachians. Obviously, if you're out in the woods, use common sense, because even if there's not a boogeyman, there might be a bear, but I'm not trying to scare you away. There are some absolutely beautiful places in the Appalachians. I've personally camped in part of the Appalachians. It is such a gorgeous place, and I don't want to ward anyone off from that, so just making that known. But apparently there are some rules if you do visit. If you want to follow them, feel free. If you don't, apparently you're not supposed to look at the trees, especially from eye level and up, because there are very tall things watching you. What those things are, I don't know. You're not supposed to whistle or sing in the woods. Apparently this is because the higher notes travel farther, so you're telling whatever's in the woods exactly where you are. Forgetting the paranormal stuff, I don't see any reason why this would be bad. Talking and talking loudly in the woods is actually a good thing, so if you're coming up on a bear or any other really dangerous animal, they know you're coming so you don't just spook them. So it's probably a good idea to make some noise. Don't go into the woods between dusk and dawn. I feel like that's just kind of a general, not rule, but kind of common sense. Like certain cities or towns, you don't want to go certain places after dusk or dawn. Definitely if you live out in a wooded area, because there are some animals that are nocturnal that you probably don't want to run into. Do not go off of marked trails. Again, seems pretty straightforward, good advice. If you make eye contact with something, do not run. Now again, don't know what the paranormal something the person who made this list was talking about. However, if you make eye contact with like a cougar or a bear, you don't want to run, because especially with a cougar, the instinct to chase you is going to come in. And with black bears, which are normally what you're going to see in the Appalachian area, like it's always best to make yourself look bigger to try to scare the animal away. So again, good piece of advice. I don't know how much of a paranormal like relevance it has. If you hear your name, no you didn't. So again, this is probably the most famous one. It's kind of a joke. You hear it all over TikTok at the moment. I don't know, if you hear a random person that you don't know calling your name or something, I guess it's up to you depending on the situation you're in. Maybe if you're lost and stranded in the woods, it could be someone calling to try to help you, but I don't know. I guess that depends on the situation. I trust you to make the correct choice. And the further away it sounds, the closer it is, and vice versa. So if you hear your name and it sounds like it's right next to you, whatever saying it's farther away, and if it sounds far away, it's right next to you, about to grab you and eat you and get you. So where I got most of these, if not all of these, like superstitions, are from a TikTok creator named Abby Sabota. So feel free to check her out if you want to. She makes some very interesting content. I did scroll and watch her for quite a while, and it was very entertaining. I know that there has been a bit of controversy again about saying these things about the Appalachian Mountains, because there are so many communities that rely on tourists and you don't want to scare them off. I'm not really going to touch that. I'm just saying that this video is not to try to scare anyone off. If you are a believer in the paranormal, there are several festivals like the Mothman Festival and I believe the Flatwoods Monster Festival that happen. You would just have to look up to see when they are. I would love to go see them one day. I feel like that would be so much fun. But also there are non-spooky places in the Appalachians if you want to ever go visit and give your money to a community that would really need it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and leave comments down below of any other videos you would like me to make. I've been trying to decide what video I want to make next. Maybe ocean monsters. Somebody recommended the Cecil Hotel, going into all of the strange occurrences there. I might do that next. But let me know if there's anything you specifically want to see, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.